We're here today as your positive parenting coaches to help you find ways to help your child feel loved. All right, Vicki, should we start with the obvious disclaimer?
This one is tricky because you aren't responsible for how your child feels. He or she is. And so it's really tricky.
We want our kids to feel loved, but it's not your job to make them feel loved.
Right. Remember, anytime we go down that make them, it's out of your hands at that point. What your job is to love them. Right?
No matter what and even if.
Even if they don't feel loved, you still get to love them.
Right. That's our disclaimer. Now, having said that, I think that what we do matters.
Right.
And when we're doing our job well as a parent and we love our kids no matter what and even if, then of course we want them to feel loved. So how can we facilitate that or make it most likely that they will do their part?
Right.
They have to do their part in order to feel loved. So let's see how we can help them to do that.
All right, one of the first things you can do is to remember to use a calm voice, calm face. Stop yelling. Stop any type of...
Or any other kind of violence.
Any type of violence or abuse that you're doing, just stop that. And bring in a calm voice, calm face, calm way of handling things. Because that way your actions are more in line with your feelings of love, which is what we're doing. We're loving our child, right? But we're presenting it in a way that they might be more receptive to it.
This is a challenging one. I'm reading a book right now by Greg Bear. He's got a series about real love. And one of these books is about post-childhood stress disorder. Now, that's not even a real thing, but it kind of is. Because children experience trauma as they're growing. Well, you and I did
we all
too.
did.
Okay, so it's a universal thing, and I'm not sure you can call something a disorder if it's a universal experience. But Greg's point in this book about yelling or any other form of violence, I know I threw it in that category. I did it on purpose. I wanted to get your attention. I think yelling is a form of violence. It's not as bad as, hitting somebody with a machete. All right, fine. And congratulations for not doing that. But it is a form of violence and it tends to traumatize kids. And Greg's point is, in the moment when you're yelling or screaming or losing your cool, your child is not feeling loved. Right. I know we said it's their responsibility what they feel. How do you feel if somebody's yelling at you? It's almost impossible in that moment to feel loved. So if our objective is to help our children feel loved,
then let's cut out the yelling. Right.
Let's go to the calm, loving voice. Voice and face particularly, okay? Because your face will carry stuff, right? Calm your face, smooth those eyebrows out a little bit, okay? A little bit of a smile, relax. Calm face and voice. This is going to facilitate your children actually feeling loved.
To piggyback off of that, we talk about calm body. Sometimes have you ever noticed yourself, you're standing with your hands on your hips and you're kind of bigger than the kid. We often, as a professional that works with children, we talk about getting on their level, right? Getting down with them. And we need to do this in all areas, no matter what our age of child. And the way that we do that is we spend time with them at the right level with them, right? So maybe it is getting on the floor and playing with a child. Maybe it is with your, semi-adult child to get on their level and spend time with them, whatever that looks like. Maybe it's going to lunch. Maybe it's playing a game on the Game Boy with them or something.
I'm thinking of another example, Vicki. You and I both climbed into a 2-seater airplane with our son, who is a newly licensed pilot.
To spend time with him, to experience what he's enjoying in life. So we want to find a way to connect with our kids by spending time with them and giving them kind of our attention, our undivided attention at their level.
Yes. May I add a piece to this? Because I've shared before here on the channel that 2 essential elements are required in order for you to have authority as a parent.
Right.
And one of them, I'll get to the other one in just a minute, One of them is to be seen as a provider of good times and good things. It's part of establishing yourself as an authority with your child. But the context we're using it right now is to help them feel loved. And when you're spending this quality time with them, that's huge in helping them to feel loved.
Right. Now, you said that being seen as a provider of good time and good things is the first part of one of the things that we have to
It's
provide
one
for
of
our
two.
parents. Right. Can you tell us about the second one?
Well, the second one is being able to set and enforce appropriate limits.
You know, we're talking about helping our child feel loved, and you're talking
Yes.
about limits. Kind of talk to me about that one. I'm sure a lot of people are going, wait, what?
Well, this is where we go wrong as a parent. Sometimes we think, oh, our child's not going to like me if,
If I tell them that they can't go out with that group of friends.
It's not true.
Right.
It is not true. The psychological literature, our clinical experience, everything tells us children need to feel secure within appropriate limits.
Word there, don't miss the appropriate limits.
Right.
And so.
If there are no limits, what we find is that kids need two things. This is probably the most common finding in the psychological research about healthy, well-adjusted children. It always comes down to some form of structure and love. Mm-hmm. All right? And sometimes it's discipline or limits.
But it kind of comes back to the same thing.
But it comes down to those two elements. And if you don't have one or the other, your children go goofy on you. Seriously, they develop pathologies. Their behavior goes out of whack. They've got to have both. Mm-hmm. I think if you have love, but no limits and discipline, you're going to have kids just bouncing off the walls. They'll feel entitled. They'll be really hard to deal with once they become teenagers.
Right.
What if you have discipline but no love? Well, that's the military.
Yeah.
You got to have both. Mm-hmm. And it's so interesting to me, Vicki, that the psychological effect of being contained within appropriate limits is something that actually calms and helps to secure children in a way that they can feel loved.
Right, which is what our goal is this time on this channel, right?
It's probably even a safety issue for kids because at some level they realize, you know what? I'm a kid. Without mom and dad, I'm toast.
Yeah.
I wonder if these guys can really keep me safe.
And that's where if you can provide good limits, and let's go
Right.
back. One of our earlier points was to spend time with them. As you get to know your child, you're going to have a really good idea of where those limits need to be set. They're not static. They need to change. As your child changes, and every child is a little different, so those limits and boundaries are going to morph and change a little with each child.
Absolutely.
And as you are spending a little more time with the child, understanding what is going on in the child's mind, where their development is and their maturity, you're going to have a better idea of where to set those limits.
Absolutely. That will inform your parenting in some appropriate ways. As you were sharing that, Vicki, I was remembering a mom who came in to see me about her teenager. Oh. And she was telling me everything that was going on and giving me all the background and everything. And then she said, "This is not my kid." And I agreed with her. It's not your kid. It's your teenager. And that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So we have to be flexible and be ready to shift. The importance of these limits and boundaries in helping children feel loved is so important. Pay attention to that and don't hold back from it just because you want to be
the fun, nice parent.
The friend. Okay, You're a parent first. And we already talked about being a provider of good times and good things. So we won't leave you hanging there either. As we wrap this up, helping your children to feel loved, I think implies that you see them as actual people.
As individuals that are not the same as you.
I've had people actually say to me before, if I take good care of my kids, they'll grow up and become decent people. They're already people. Babies are already people. A puppy is already a dog.
Right.
Let's honor them as people who have agency. This is not mini-me. It's not a little clone. It's not a carbon copy of you.
Or a carbon copy of an older brother or sister. Everybody is just unique enough that we
Right.
need to be able to see that.
Oh, I thought of another example.
Go.
Because I work so much with divorced families.
Ah,
It is not a carbon copy of your evil ex-spouse.
right.
The people are individuals and unique. All people, your children included. Now, yes, there are characteristics that are like you, or like their dad, or like their mom. That is true, but they are not that person.
Right.
They are individuals, they are people in their own right.
And I think honoring that goes in another section too, is when your child makes a choice, part of your whole parenting, if you can honor their choices instead of
Oh, I love that.
kind of covering up for them or rescuing them, but you honor the choices that you make, you're showing your child that you honor them as an individual.
Yes, and then you can detach your own emotional attachment to the outcome. This is such a powerful strategy for positive parenting. You detach yourself from the outcome so that their choice is going to be whatever it's going to be, and you're okay with either way,
Because you love them.
no matter what.
And even if.
That's right. This detachment from the outcome allows you to honor them as agents in their own right. So as people, we've been talking about they are people with agency. Moral agency is the power to direct your own life. And I get that children, when they're younger, need to have a lot of structure.
Definitely.
And you're going to make some decisions for them. But as they grow and take more control over their own life, it's not your job as a parent to make sure that they choose something you want them to choose. That gets into all kinds of trouble. But to honor and respect their choices, and you can do this, by the way, in ways that allow you to help steer or direct or influence those choices. But we're not going to control those. We're going to honor them for the agency and the person that they are.
Look, we know that parenting can be pretty challenging at times, but you don't need to be in this alone.
No, we're here for you. We're on your team, and we're honored to be there. You're probably not even aware of some of the resources that are available. If you're ready to take this to the next step, please come visit us at Live on Purpose Central. There's a link in the description. go.liveonpurposecentral.com. We're going to open up some new possibilities for you in your positive parenting.
I could be color unknown.